Well, thanks for tuning in to Ascend the Hill with Pastor Jeremy Austill. We're back again after a really good Sunday. It was week 6 of our Set the Atmosphere series. This Sunday is going to be our possible last one.
Yes, that's the plan. This Sunday will be the last of this series, 7 weeks. I went back and looked, just kind of averaged out the length of our series. The last couple of years, I've done about 7 series a year, so roughly 7 weeks in length with a couple of, here's an Easter message, what have you. So I guess I got a pattern, roughly ballpark of 7 weeks.
Right, 7 weeks. I think it's great. It was such a good one. We talked about relationships.
Yeah.
That's kind of the focal point. Your title was Good Company.
Good company.
Good company.
Yeah.
There's a difference in the company.
Yes. Yes.
Your fish joke at the front end of it was, I've never heard that.
You never heard that?
I had never heard that.
About they say company is like fish. After 3 days, it starts to stink.
I had never heard that.
You had never heard that?
That was fresh for me. I was like, oh, okay.
Assumed, it's good to know. I assume when I say stuff like that everybody knows it. It's good to.
I don't.
And I think I flubbed it in the second service. I don't think I said it right, but anyway.
No, you forgot the word fish.
Yeah.
You're like, well, wait a second.
Let me go back.
Fish is in here.
Yeah. Let me get back. It was just like company stinks.
So we're going to dive a little deeper into the relationships. Before we do that, though, we've got a couple current events. We've been doing that. I saw today an article, which I thought you and I talked about this on our plane ride to Minneapolis last month. A city in Japan has put in, now it's a non-binding thing, but a 2-hour limit on screen time outside of work and school.
Really?
Yes.
Like and they can regulate your device?
Well, I don't know. That's kind of where the gray area is, because it's like an ordinance, it's like a city ordinance.
Yeah.
And so they're saying it's more of a guide than anything, and they're asking their people, and that's why they called it a non-binding ordinance, because I don't think they can necessarily enforce it.
Yeah.
But they're asking that outside of work and school, that everyone put a 2-hour limit on any device. So that's your phone, tablet, computer, any of it.
What about TV?
I think it's in that too.
Wow.
So it's like they're almost like forcing. So you and I had a conversation on the plane about because my wrist was hurting. We were sitting on the plane. I was like, dude, and you were like, oh, you do that too?
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, because I hold my phone for 7 hours a day.
Right.
So, I mean, half of what I do job-wise is on my phone.
Right.
So I just thought it was fascinating. A 2-hour.
I think if we could regulate ourselves like that, I don't know about putting laws on it, but because that feels very un-American.
Right.
But if we could all self-regulate, I mean, when you think about it, by the time you're done with school and work, I mean, I'm getting home at 4:30, sometimes 5 o'clock, and my family, one kid's going to bed at 8:30, the other's going to bed at 9:30, so I only have a 3.5 to 4.5 hour window with our family, and then you say we're going to take 2 hours of that and put it to screens, and then the rest. Well, now, I mean, 2 hours sounds pretty generous,
Right.
and we probably all should self-regulate. And I will go ahead and the reason I asked about TV, it was like, are they talking about that too? Because I have shows. Part of our family rhythm is there's a. Neely and I have shows we watch. Kingston and I have shows we watch. Michelle and I have shows we watch. It's a part of our, family dynamic. Now we've had stretches where we've played cards a lot, Uno and things like that. But man, 2 hours.
Yeah. I mean, we're the same way. I mean, sometimes we'll do, we read books before bed, but there's these channels on YouTube where they've like almost animated the reading of children's books. And so it's a great attention grabber. So that's kind of where we'll negotiate. It's like, well, let's watch one, and they're good quality. So we'll do that. And it's kind of just a bonding right before bed, just kind of a thing we do. And then we watch shows together. I just started the Dallas Cowboys documentary, by the way.
Oh yeah, so that was the Cowboys of the 80s and 90s were my favorite team.
Well, the documentary is incredible.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
You're gonna have to watch it. It was good, but so I just think I thought it was really interesting, though. I mean, and they're doing it for the health benefits.
Yeah, of course,
not being on your screen. I mean, I noticed Monday was a veg out day for me. I mean, it was just like, because I'm getting ready to go to Africa, but it was like a 3-week stretch where I just felt like I was trying to pound projects, get stuff done. So one day I was just like, oh, I just want to be done. Like, just need a day. And I was about halfway through a day, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I've set my phone down yet. It's like, I'm going to put this away.
Well, because it has become the mindless occupation. We grab it, and when we're tired, when we're worn out, we mindlessly scroll. I can say without a doubt that when I'm tired, I am more connected to my phone. When I have more energy, I am more conversational. I'm more FaceTime with my family. I'm more experiential, but fatigue puts me toward the phone. And the problem is it just kind of increases the fatigue. But I'm 100% in on the idea that we mess with these too much. And even all the way to, like, I'd considered it, and I haven't done it. I literally for a couple of weeks considered, and I was like, I'm going to wait till this, and this gets behind me. Kids are out of town, whatever. But it's like, I want to go a whole 7 days, like, turn my phone off, put it in the drawer, and not touch it. And if somebody needs to get in touch with me, they can call Michelle. They can, call our assistant, Judy, whatever. But I haven't done it yet. And I need to, but now college football's starting, and I need to know. I need to know what's going on.
Now for the next 8 months, you're locked in. I need to read all the forums on what's happening.
But I am going to. We're about to enter a time of prayer and fasting, and I'm going to, within the context of that, do some major disconnect from social media and stuff like that. Because it's when you combine the two, man, there's a clarity that comes with it.
Yeah. Well, the other big topic, I don't know if you've seen, it's everywhere. Cracker Barrel changed their logo.
I mean, have I seen? But they've changed it back.
They have now changed it back.
So, you know what Kingston said? We were talking about this last night, and he said it was all a plan. Like, my 15-year-old's going, they, quote, changed the logo to get everybody worked up, and then they're, like, changing it back all to get maximum attention.
Yeah.
That's what 15-year-old over here dropping conspiracies. He's watched one too many documentaries, I guess.
Now, I will say, and maybe it's just the millennial in me, I didn't hate it. I wasn't bothered by it. Like, it didn't bother me at all. And I actually, like, they've been renovating stores or whatever. This is a hot take. I actually like the cleaner design of the restaurant, because I feel like the old school, it feels a little dirty. Can we just be honest?
Well, yeah, because there's so many items.
Yes.
How do you keep it dusted? How do you keep it truly clean?
You don't.
Stuff that stays on the wall a long time, especially if there's cooking happening, it can develop a little bit of a film residue on it. So that's real. I mean, just from a modernized aesthetic, sure. The newer logo was like, okay, it's clean, it's simple. The white walls, which I have not been in one, so I don't know if it's, it might be one sample,
Right.
But on the flip side, Cracker Barrel has like a unique niche, and it is so different than most other places, right? And it's not the food that's different, because every town has a breakfast spot. Every town has a meat and three. So it's not that it fits a food niche as much as it fits a vibe niche.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think when they started messing with the vibe niche, then now you got mass rebellion.
Right.
And,
I ran the numbers.
Okay.
So within the first couple of hours of them announcing it, they lost over $90 million.
Nice.
And then by the end of it, before they switched it back, over $143 million in
I
loss.
saw where they had invested like $700 million in the brand remake,
which is crazy.
I could be wrong, but still,
they should have sent that to me. I could have come up with a better logo.
I mean, yeah,
I could have been a little more creative than what they got. But
I mean, there's so many leadership lessons in it, and but everything gets politicized too. So it felt very conservative, right versus liberal left. The whole dynamic felt very focused in on that. I don't know that it was as much conservative, liberal, right and left as it was a very interesting leadership observation of this organization has a very clear client base, and that client base is aging. So understandably, the organization is saying we want to last longer. Yeah. So how do we last longer? We need to kind of refresh ourselves to appeal to a new clientele, trying to hold on to the people we have. But maybe as much as anything else, just some of their messaging and the messengers that were trying to make the transition were not capable of appealing to their original client base. And so it's just a good lesson in, like, not just the messaging, but the messenger. You know, when you have a person that is the CEO that I guess is left-leaning, is liberal. I don't know. I don't think she's Southern, which Cracker Barrel is so like Southern nostalgia. So right out of the gate, you meet resistance. But it's fascinating. It's, again, the tension of an organization needing to try to last. Yeah. But you can't last if you tank the people that are loyal to the brand now. Man, as a pastor, it's like living in that tension of how do we move into the future, but not disregard all of the people that are loyal and faithful and helped get us to this spot. And so you could also look at it as, man, this was an organization that had a certain set of core values. And it's like, we're just going to blow up the core values to try to appeal to new people. And, man, a lot of times in church world, you see, hey, our core values are worship. Our core values are deep scripture. Our core values as a movement are, you know, spirit-filled living. But, hey, we're just going to kind of eradicate all that and make it shiny and neat and new and be a little more surface. But just like super, I'm talking a long time, and then you can tell me your thoughts. I'm fascinated by it. But like on a basic level, get the food better, get the service better, get like rework the kitchen so that you're not putting anything in a microwave. Yeah. Like go the Chick-fil-A route, be the best service. Like to me, that's anyway.
Now, I don't really care what the logo is. I will still order eggs in a basket all day long.
But here's the other problem. Like, I can make eggs in a basket at home.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it is kind of a, that's why I say if you're going to be this niche, then you need to be as like the best version of that as you can. And it needs to be quality. And anyway, I thought it was fascinating. What else you got on Cracker Barrel?
No, I just thought that you've thought way more in depth than I did.
I've enjoyed watching it. And ultimately, I would probably fall on the side of, what are we doing? Yeah. I would fall on the side of, why are we doing all the rebranding? Why are you doing all the changing? Just make the product you have way higher quality and own that niche. Like own that space, because there's so many, bro, when I was 20 years old, 25 years old, like we didn't have near the amount of restaurants that we have now. Restaurant chains, like the volume of restaurants in a community, and then the amount of restaurant chains and options is just overwhelming now. Yeah. And so more than ever, I feel like restaurants have to, and just businesses in general, like have to have a strong slice of the market that they're really unique in. And well,
we sat in that meeting a couple weeks ago, and they talked to Hendersonville specific. Yeah, 152 unique food places. Yeah, so fast food, mom and pop restaurants, like 152 just in Hendersonville. Yes, and it's like that blew my mind. It was like I didn't realize. I mean, you think of your core ones. I mean, there's Chicken Row in Hendersonville, right? All the chicken restaurants. So it's like when you start thinking outside of that, to get to 152, blows my mind.
Oh yeah, and so you better, using Cracker Barrel, you have a certain unique thing. You better have like great food, great service if you want to survive in that. Yeah. So I don't think what you put on the door, what you put on the wall, and I don't think it's going to matter near as much as the quality of the experience. But that's there's a whole lot of
I don't preach there.
Bro, we talked all about Cracker Barrel. I mean, how deep are we into this, Jonathan? We're 14 minutes in.
Well, I hope you listen at home have enjoyed that. And that's our podcast.
My gosh, I can't believe. Well, but I mean, probably everybody that's listening, all 12 of you have noticed this happening. If you're listening to a podcast, then you're on social media enough that
there's no way you haven't seen it.
You've seen it and you have thoughts on it.
Now, I say there's no way. I said something to Sydney last night about it. She had no idea.
Well, Sydney's superior to all of us.
She was like, what are you talking about? I was like, they changed your logo. You didn't know? She was like, no.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. Well, here's what happened.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into relationships. So we'll take it three ways. You had mentioned this. It was I think it was your second point or your second thought, not point. Second thought in the service about there are some relationships we have that need to be strengthened, some that need to have boundaries, and then some that need to come to an end. So we're going to go those three directions. But before, I know you had something you wanted to say as far as wisdom.
Yes. So very quick, I've addressed that Proverbs are principles, not promises, that they're the rule of thumb, but there's always exceptions. And so even through this series, for instance, on Sunday, when I'm speaking about relational dynamics, I'm speaking big picture framework wisdom, like good frame of thinking, but with the understanding that there's nuance and uniqueness to every situation. And so what I would tell you sitting at a table like this, if you laid out your situation, would be more in depth. And it might have some variance from what I said on Sunday in the pulpit. And so all that to say there is a need for large picture framework wisdom. Like this is the general way I approach things. And then I get down into circumstantial wisdom of, Lord, help me decipher this and handle this situation the right way.
Yeah.
What you have to be careful of is not having like generally speaking, when it's not emotional and it doesn't apply to me, the advice I'd give somebody else, my big picture framework, like when I do not apply that, when I completely disregard it in my individual circumstances, it's in those moments that you realize, hey, I might be too emotionally entangled in this to make a good decision. And I find myself there a lot in leading that, like, if I'm talking to a pastor friend, hey, do this, this, and this. And then I get down in my situation and I look the person in the eye and I know them and I know their dynamic. And suddenly my emotional connection disconnects me from my general wisdom. And so being mindful that there's general wisdom that should help guide you. And then you get into individual situations and there's layers of wisdom that you got to kind of work through.
Yeah. And I think it's very situational.
Yes.
I mean, like if we went through something similar, what worked for you and what you applied may not work in my situation. And so, but I think a lot of times we're looking for quick fixes in a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so we're looking for almost a copy paste.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can't copy and paste. Everything's unique to the person, to the situation, what's going on. So I just think it's a good principle that, like, this is broad. We broad stroked it on Sunday. So here's kind of.
Yes.
So
for instance, just hey, you need to set boundaries on your parents. Okay. All right. But my boundaries for my parents may be different than your boundaries from your parents because we're dealing with two different sets of human beings. And I might need to draw a line here and it might not be a relevant line for you. And so, but the bigger principle of I need to create boundaries, healthy boundaries, is still intact.
Yeah.
So,
well, we'll dive in. So we'll start with the relationships that need to be strengthened.
Yeah.
So you hit some on Sunday, but I think that probably the next portion of the podcast be very practical. Like here's things, here's how you can strengthen it, but here's some things. So just immediate thoughts on relationships that need to be strengthened.
Well, we talked about marriage. We talked about your relationship with your children. I talked about children in relationship with their parents. And then one of them I didn't mention was when you have a good friend, when you have a good person in your life that isn't your wife, your husband, strengthen that relationship too. Like when you found a good person, then man, lean into that and do work to make that a great friendship. And by that, you spend more time with them than the person that's less beneficial and helpful to you. You're more transparent with this person than you are the other person. So,
yeah, I think it's really good. So we talked about marriage. So what would you say, obviously just general advice on, so marriage, parenting, whatever, what are some ways to bring strength to a relationship? So if something feels like it's on the rocks, or it feels like there's strain, what could somebody do to strengthen that? Like, where can they do that at?
So if you're talking marriage, is that kind of what you're asking?
I think just broad brush all of them. You can hit each one with the.
I mean, I alluded to it on Sunday, but communication is crucial. And it's not the benign, how was your day? Tell me all the fun stuff that happened. Tell me what frustrated you. But communication about your relationship. And communication about what you see in the other person, what your experience is with the other person, and at the same time receiving and hearing what they see in you and what they are receiving from you. Most, especially in family dynamics, the biggest breakdown tends to be just the willingness to tell the truth or to be honest, and the willingness to hear it and not be defensive. And I'll just go ahead and admit that's not easy. In mine and Michelle's dynamic, sometimes she says things that are really hard for me to hear, and I don't like it. And my reaction a lot of times at first is anger, frustration. Like I get mad. I'm just like, well, I don't want to talk to you. I'm aggravated at this. But I have learned with her, nobody wants me to win more than she does. Her winning is dependent on me winning, right?
Yeah.
Like we're on the same team. And so if she's observing something, then like she's on my side. We're trying to get to the same place. She's dependent on me to a degree for her to get to where she wants to go in life, to a large degree. And so I need to hear that and swallow the jagged pill of it.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just tell your truth, so to speak. You've got to be able to receive what they're experiencing, having the hard conversations of just how you're wired, as in, man. And when I'm a guy, I'm talking to guys. Telling how you feel is hard to do, and just honestly, as a husband, sharing weaknesses and vulnerabilities is hard. Number one, it's just period. It's hard as a human. Second, it's hard as a man. And then third, I feel such a responsibility to my family, their emotional well-being, that I don't want to stress them out or burden them with my weaknesses, right? And so like understanding what to communicate, how to communicate it is absolutely crucial. But the other side is hearing the difficult thing. And maybe the bigger is when there is tension, when there is something off, when you're drifting, when you're not as emotionally connected, addressing it, acknowledging it. Hey, there's an elephant in the room. Let's talk about the elephant. And really nothing needs to be off topic. If it's money, if it's, hey, this is how you're talking to me right now, if it's sex, whatever, like nothing needs to be off limits in the conversation if you're going to walk together really, really well and strengthen the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. While you were talking, I just had the thought of like in order for anything to be strengthened in relationship, like you have to let your pride die.
Yes.
Because your pride is the number one thing that'll keep you from letting something be strengthened or having those conversations. I mean, I know what you're saying, like as a man, as a dad, as the head of the household, it's like you don't want to share. But a lot of that is our internal pride of like, I don't have weakness or I don't have this. And it's like, you're never going to fix anything or address anything wholeheartedly without pushing your pride away. Like, you know what? I'm going to submit here into this and like, now let's have this conversation. I'm not going to, because Sydney used to tell me all the time. I mean, Sydney and I started dating in middle school. So we had years of friendship, relationship before we got married. And so she used to tell me in high school all the time, and it still rings in my head, defensive ain't cute, you know, because my default when we'd get into an argument was I just immediately defensive.
Yeah.
You know, and as I've gotten older, it's like the more I realize how prideful my defensiveness was. So, but I just think it.
Just in general, like the fact that you're talking about that, you know, Michelle and I were pastoring this church, but number one, we don't have a perfect marriage. I don't know that anybody does. You have two imperfect people, so the combination is going to lead to imperfection. We have a fought for marriage. Mm. We have That's a worked really on and worked for marriage. And we've been married 26 years. We've had 2 kids. Man, one of the biggest change points in our marriage was we'd been married 11 years or so, and then the boy comes along, and it dramatically changed our marriage, changed our relationship. And it was a challenging couple of years trying to figure out like what is us now. But the thing that made it most challenging is I guess we had not had any like tension between us for those 11 years. And so we did not know how to like speak transparently with each other. Everything was held in. And it's like we love each other, we're coexisting, but I got all this stuff I'm feeling. She's got all this stuff she's feeling, and we're not articulating it. I won't get too deep in the weeds of the story because I don't have permission to tell it from her. But I remember a stretch. Neely had just been born. We were about to go through a real life change, becoming district youth directors, and it was just. I mean, divorce was never a point of, like, just to be clear, that has never been a consideration in the slightest, but it's just like we were off. Like we were not in sync. And I remember something happened, and she was very frustrated, and she sent a text because I was out of town. She sent a text, and I sent a text back, and it was like the texts were a level of honesty that I don't think we had ever like crossed into, of her frustration, my frustration. But it was unbelievably healing to say the difficult thing. And we just did it in text form. So it's interesting through the years, we're way past that now, but we learned just a little, super practical. We learned that sometimes when you're standing face to face with your spouse, you can't quite say what you want to say well. It's like I can preach to 1 million people and be like, okay, but then you sit with your spouse and it feels like, as high as the stakes are to preach to 100,000 people, it feels like the stakes are even higher when you're sitting with your spouse or with your kid. And a lot of times you got stuff that's like, I want to say this needs to be said, but when I try, it does not come out right. It doesn't come out well. And so, I don't know, for a stretch, we figured out texting was really helpful because I could articulate it and she could articulate it. And the texting allowed us to say with clarity, with precision, what we were feeling. And then eventually, like, we kind of evolved out of that, and that wasn't needed anymore because we got better and better at communication. But just super practical. Sometimes if you can't say it, because every time you're standing in front of your spouse and it's like you want to say it, it comes out mad, it comes out angry, it comes out convoluted.
Or you're trying to make 100 balancing statements.
Yes.
So it doesn't feel as all those things.
Yes. And so, like, low-key hack, of sometimes just putting it in written form helps. Yeah. But obviously not to hurt. Everything is always to strengthen. Right. Like, the goal when you're in marriage, when you're with your kids, there's some relationships, like, parting ways is not like a part of the equation. Like, we're not thinking about that. So everything we're doing is for the objective of strengthening and getting better together.
Communication is just such an interesting thing because as you get older, it changes.
Yeah.
Like as you grow together, as you grow in friendship, all these different things, like your communication changes. Your needs in communication change, and your wants and desires in communication change. So it's an ongoing. What worked 10 years ago in the way you spoke may not work now.
Yeah.
So like you have to be in a constant journey. But I loved what you said before you said that. I don't have a perfect marriage, but I have a fought for marriage.
Yes.
I think it's so good. Like that is a nugget.
Well, yeah.
So,
I don't need to rehash it. Yeah. That is very much mine and Michelle's experience. I mean, and we don't tout it as perfect.
Yeah.
Now we've never been unfaithful. We've never been abusive to each other. It's just we're really human.
Yeah.
And, we're very different personality types. And it's amazing how frequently the personality types like unbelievably complement each other to make us better. And then there are times when the personality differences cause us to see something very differently.
Yeah.
And then there's the emotional tension but that's living with another human being.
Right. So the next one you hit was relationships that need boundaries.
Yes.
And so this can go into every facet of our life.
Yeah.
So I just want to we'll hit this one quick and then we'll get to our last one. But how does someone establish boundaries?
I think first you have to assess the relationship. It's back to one of the other thoughts that we have to be able to humbly but honestly assess a person's behavior, their traits, their ways, their tendencies. And so you got to be like observant. You got to be honest with yourself. And so it starts there. Okay, what are the issues? All right, so that's number one. Number two, you have to be decisive in the face of emotion. Because most of the time, if you're having to set boundaries, that's because there is emotional tension or turmoil connected to this relational dynamic. That when y'all get together, like your blood pressure goes up or what have you. They don't share your values, whatever. And so you have to know going in that setting boundaries is not going to feel good. Like it's not going to feel good. And it will even contend against, you posted the clip this week or Cornerstone posted the clip this week of, forgiveness is not free access. But transparently, I read that and I listened to that clip and I thought, well, Jesus has forgiven me freely, and he tells us to forgive. And so am I wrong on that? But I don't believe I am, because like Jesus, he forgives freely, but we're called to live a life of righteousness and holiness. It's not like, hey, I'm going to forgive you. Now you just go do what you're going to do. Right. Mm-hmm. And so likewise, but it does sometimes even from a moral standpoint, it doesn't feel good to say, am I supposed to love? So you have a lot of your like theology thoughts on God triggers that kick in. Well, I'm supposed to love. I'm supposed to be patient. So you kind of wade through the emotions of it and just be decisive. Okay, clearly this relationship is not the best. And so I got to decide now, no matter what I feel, I'm going to make some lines.
Yeah.
And then you determine what those lines are. And then based on the circumstances, and by you determine, I would advise conversation with friends, people with wisdom. Hey, this is what I'm working through. Can you help me? This is what I'm thinking. And then the final stage is now, okay, the person.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes this goes back to big picture wisdom versus more circumstantial. With some people, you might have to sit down with them and say, hey, look, we used to interact this way. That's not working anymore. We're going to have to start interacting another way. But there are other times when you can set the boundary where you don't have to explain it. You just say no to things you used to say yes to. And you just move differently in life in relation to them. And now they may notice and come and ask, and you'll have to be ready that if they ask, I'm going to be honest. I'm not, what you don't want to do is be ambiguous. You got to be clear, whether it's clear on the front end or clear if you're asked about it later. But there have been times in mine and Michelle's life where, we've had friends or we've had families, different people we've connected with, and we just kind of come to conclusions of like, this isn't, it's been fun, but this isn't the best going forward for where we are in life. And so we never sat down and like, y'all are no good for us. Right. You're pitiful and you're making our life worse. It's like, it's not that. Yeah. It's not that intense. It's just, okay, we're going to say no to things we used to say yes to. We're going to communicate less than we used to. We're going to set the boundaries. And a lot of times when you do that, even if you just create distance where there used to be proximity, right, the relationship starts changing, people move on, you move on, it helps.
Yeah, and you had said last week in regards to boundaries for money is telling yourself no. Yeah. I think it's the same thing.
Yes.
And I think even for your own self, when you're setting your own boundaries, the more you tell yourself no, like, no, I'm not going to do that, or no, we're not going to do that, you develop that. And then it starts to create your own boundaries from that. And it's like, well, I'm not going to do that. So now I'm kind of shaping where I'm going.
Yeah. Now it gets harder when you are in a scenario where you have to tell them we're making this change. If you have to sit down with your parents and say, hey, the kids aren't spending the night anymore. We're just not doing that. And here's why. Those kind of things, that's a painful conversation. But you have to ask yourself, am I going to keep living with this, even though I know it's not good, it's not healthy? And that's just one little snippet example. But apply this. Am I going to keep living with this and living with the conflict it creates, or living with how it negatively affects my family or my world? Or am I going to do the hard thing? It's actually the easy out to just keep living with it and sucking it up. Or am I going to do the hard thing that will lead to health along the way?
Yeah, and I would just pose the question at what point is enough enough?
Yeah.
Like at what point do you want to quit dealing with it?
Yeah.
And then deal with it. Yeah. And I know that feels very like surface level, but I think it could be monumental for people.
Yeah, and it's not, everything with that message Sunday, we laughed, we had a good time. I think at one point I said, I've given everybody in the room a chance to be offended today. Just kind of like, it was a heavy lived in topic, but we kind of came at it lighthearted. Yeah. It was a fun day, but it's not lost on me that what the things I was saying in and of themselves create emotional conflict. Like, that's hard. I'm tied to this person. I don't, right. Who am I if I cut off that relationship? How do I have that conversation? What if I hurt them? I don't want to lose them. I just want to create some barriers. What if I create barriers and I lose them? That's all very difficult.
Yeah.
But that thought in the message of you have to be more focused and concerned about your spiritual well-being, your soul health than other people's feelings.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we run roughshod over people's feelings or we wound people. It just means that if you're not careful, you will spend your whole life trying to please other people.
Yeah.
And it's not like please myself or please them. It is, I'm either going to live pleasing them or I'm actually going to live spiritually and emotionally the way God intended.
Yeah. And then your last point was on that thought was which ones need to end.
Yeah.
And I, when you say that, my mind immediately starts trying to balance all of it.
Yeah.
Well, God is love. Like, would he want me to end that, or what about this or what about this? And so there definitely is a finality to it.
Yeah.
And I think that we almost shy away from that.
Yeah.
But I think it's very healthy in a lot of situations. Like when it gets to that point that you need to cut it, like the healthiest thing for you to do is cut it. So I just want to talk into that. And you made a couple statements Sunday. You can get into those too on divorce and, so which ones need to end?
Yeah. I think I mentioned romantic relationships that have major red flags or physicality. To me, that's not a hard one. I mentioned business partnerships, business relationships where the person lacks integrity, where there's immorality, where there's law breaking, but get out of that. I can't remember what other one I mentioned. I might have mentioned friends, acquaintances that are have major toxic. I don't remember what exactly I mentioned, but the thought of Jesus wants me to love everybody. That's what I alluded to before. We have our thoughts of God and our thoughts of our Christianity, and a lot of times, in our compassion, our desire to win people, it's appropriate to put ourselves in less than advantageous situations to be effective. I think more so it is when it comes to things that need to end, it's the acknowledgement that in this dynamic here, I'm not the one doing the influencing. This is dragging me down. This is I might not make it. This might devastate me. This might crush me. This might wound me. This might break me in some kind of way that I don't need to be broken. It kind of goes back to one of the thoughts that I shared of, a lot of times we're not good at putting boundaries up or, ending things because I'm not perfect. Who am I? And the emphasis I made that on Sunday of, right, you're not perfect. So because you're not perfect, you have to be a good steward of the relationships in your life. And in my imperfection, I'm acknowledging that some people can be a negative influence, and my imperfection can become magnified. It can become malignant, if you will, because of my connection with this person. And so, ending a relationship is not necessarily a statement of superiority. Yeah. It's an acknowledgement of my weakness and how my weakness does not work well with this person's weaknesses.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think of a couple times in the New Testament, Paul refers to this life as a race. Mm-hmm. And I mean, youth ministry used to say this all the time. The longer you're running, the more you're going to look up and realize there's not as many people running with you.
Yeah.
The further you're in, the less that are running with you. And so I think it's not even necessarily about saying no to certain things, but the more you say yes to the right things, the more I think it creates divides with bad relationships or bad friendships or things you don't need.
Yeah.
And so, I think that the more you say yes, the longer you're on this journey, the more you're going to realize, well, these things aren't as beneficial to me, or there's just been a natural drifting. And so I would just say to somebody, just let it go.
Yeah.
If it's drifted because you're saying yes to the right things, then it probably does need to end.
Yeah.
And it's not beneficial. It's not adding anything. So, be okay letting stuff go.
Yeah.
And not holding on to it for dear life, because we do that.
Yes. Well, there's a couple of thoughts that come to mind. One of them is about scaffolding. I'll come back to that. The other is one of the things that I mentioned in the message. Let's start with the scaffolding. Scaffolding is that not everybody is in your life the whole time. You put scaffolding up to get a certain thing done, and then you take it down. So the realization that very few relationships are forever. And so just the ability to move through life and not feel some type of guilt or shame or any of that, because relationships change and people come and go out of your life. I think there's a wisdom in that. There's a strength in that that allows me to gracefully maneuver through the relationships in my life, because not all of them have to be forever, right? And then I literally blanked on the other thing that was in the message. That's why I went to the scaffolding second.
Scaffolding.
But I was mindful, and I was going to talk about it in the message, that not every relationship's forever, and that's okay. As a matter of fact, very few of them. I have very few relationships that are 15, 20 years in length. Most relationships are seasonal. They're for a part of your life. So anyway.
No, I think it's great.
I wish I could grab the other thought. I could literally see it on the page in my notes, but I can't. It's gone.
No, you're good. You talked on Sunday. I know we're pushing time, but we'll kind of end with this about divorce. And you made a stance for Cornerstone.
Yeah.
Our statements. I don't know if you want to say it. Repeat that divorce is not an option.
Well, I just remember the thought.
Okay.
So we'll come back. There is a spiritual maturity that is revealed by relationships and other people having less and less effect on our spiritual life and our emotions. Going back to the ending relationships, how do I let go of relationships, how I maneuver? I do believe that there is and should be in all of our lives a spiritual maturation arc to where we get to a place where people's soul issues do not have nearly as much effect on us. Or we can start interacting with people that are not in a great spot, and we're not going to go down, like we're not going to digress to their level. We're going to influence them up. I think it requires a lot of wisdom to know when you're at that point. And I think that's the objective, like the long-term objective for Jesus, for all of us, is that we can navigate all of these relationships, and in all of them, like they can't taint me. And so now I can be around people that are a mess, but they're not going to pull me down at all. I think that's my aspiration. My aspiration is not to like box everybody out and create compartments for everybody. My aspiration is to grow to a place spiritually where somebody else's issue just does, it's like, okay, I'm going to help you get out of that. It does not affect me.
Yeah.
Right. Now, when you're raising kids, obviously it might not affect you, but it'll affect them. So you got to protect them. Yeah, I thought that was an important note, and I didn't spend a lot of time on it in the message, and maybe I didn't even mention it in the second service, that there is like increasing spiritual maturity is revealed oftentimes in the diminishing effect of other people's issues on you. That's the way to say it. Now back to divorce.
Yeah. So, I think that was great, though. I'm glad you pulled it.
Well, man, listen, we're in the afternoon, and like it just left, and then it came back.
Just exits.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of end here, but so you made a stance for Cornerstone on divorce.
Yes.
And then you kind of gave some caveats on when we could have conversations on that. So I don't know if you want to dive into that. I thought you put it pretty clearly on Sunday.
Yes.
But for some people that maybe heard the first statement and like checked out on the rest,
right,
or was trying to process what you were saying. So I don't know if we can just spend a moment on that.
Yeah. First, Scripture says God hates divorce. We have to have that as the forefront of our thoughts. Why does He hate divorce? Because of God's unbelievable gift of marriage, and how marriage is emblematic of Christ and the church. I mean, it's such a beautiful institution that God created, and it is an unbelievable expression and extension of His grace, His goodness, His mercy, His love to humanity. So when that is broken, it means people are broken. And it's not that He hates the people that divorce, but that act indicates a level of brokenness, a level of trauma, a level of emotional fallout that has ramifications, not just in the two individuals, but potentially for generations to come. The life that was being built that could have gone one generation after the next suddenly gets broken. So He hates divorce. Second, there's not a whole lot of permission for divorce in the Bible. Yeah, I think at one point it's communicated like basically divorce is allowed because y'all can't live together. Y'all won't get it together.
Yeah.
And so here it is. But there's a couple of times in Scripture where it's explicitly communicated, there's an allowance for it. One is if an unbeliever, Paul says this in Corinthians, if there's an unbeliever that leaves a believer, it's like they left. I can't do anything about it. Or if there is sexual immorality, adultery. So you have those two scenarios where it's like, okay, it's permitted, but I would even submit that adultery should not be an automatic divorce. I'm not saying that you don't have grounds. I'm just saying divorce should not be entered into lightly. So I said, hey, if they're an adulterer, and especially if they are a habitual adulterer, if they are an addict that will not get help, and as a result, they're destroying your kids, your future, and they won't get help. I mentioned if women, if you're married to a man that will not work, like he just won't, and I'm not talking, obviously we have people with health challenges that can't, but like if you are married to a lazy man that will not work and will not, then okay, we can have that conversation. I feel like there was a couple more things that I mentioned. If
criminal
abuse, if there's an abuser, if they are a criminal and they will not repent. Okay, so those are things that the reason I say, hey, all right, we can have a conversation in those instances is because those are so egregious, and in my mind, they are an assault on the spouse. They're an assault on the kids and an assault on the family. And so, all right, now we can have that conversation. But for the most part, I mean, those, I wish I'd have looked up the percentages of why people get divorced, but I would wager that the largest percentage is not adultery, not addiction, not abuse. It is just that people decided they've grown apart. They don't want to be together. They can't get along. They're unhappy. And I would just push back on that and say, you made a commitment. We're called to love.
Right.
And that love is an action. It's an intentional, disciplined journey, not just an emotional experience. And so I just, again, man, what I want in Cornerstone is if you've committed to marriage, I'm going to fight for it. I'm going to contend for it. I'm going to become the person that is a great spouse. And obviously it takes two. And you can really try hard to be a great spouse and the other person not try at all. And then my conversation then is, well, is this other person a believer? Because then if I got two Christians that are married, and I'll lean in on the men. If I got two Christians that are married and the wife is like trying to be a great wife and the man is not making the effort to be a great man and a great husband, then some men need to sit down with that man and say, grow up, quit living in sin, quit forsaking your covenant and responsibility as a husband. You're a Christian. Get your crap together, so to speak, and man up. Like, to me, that's what has to happen at that point. If it's a believer and an unbeliever or two unbelievers, well, now you're dealing with somebody that does not have the same moral compass. They don't have the same covenant. They don't have the same. They might have said I do and made a promise, but in their mind they weren't saying it before God. I'm not saying divorce is any more right. I'm just saying, okay, I can see that. But for Christians, like if there is a man in our church that is not trying to be the best, most godly, soul healthy, giving husband you can find, then there's something wrong there. And there needs to be confrontation to that, not just, not petted. You don't need to be petted. You need to be called up. And then I guess I'd say for the ladies, if that's what's happening in a woman in our tribe, so to speak, then like she needs to be challenged and called up.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think it's great. I think it's very clear. So, but yeah. So, any final thoughts?
No, we've talked a lot.
No,
and I don't know what are we on. We're deep in this.
Yeah.
Jonathan showed me a while ago.
Oh, it's not too bad. Yeah.
I couldn't see it, so I was squinting on my glasses. Though. All right,
So,
go ahead. Get us out of here.
Yeah, get us.
You're going to Africa.
I'm going to Africa, so I won't be on here next week.
Right.
But the show will go on.
Yes,
so,
sounds good.
Go ahead, like, subscribe, send it to somebody you feel like it would be beneficial to. Hit the bell so you know when we're posting, and we will see you Sunday for our last installment of Set the Atmosphere. We'll also see you for Encounter Weekends, which we're 2 weeks away from.
Let's go.
Let's go.